So I told him, I was like, are you going to sit on that thing all day? Oh, wait, are we live? That's okay. We'll cut that in post. Welcome, everybody, to Dancing Dragons Live. Dancing Dragons Live is Dancing Dragons weekly show where you get to hear from real coaches talking about real things that affect your real life. DancingDragons.CC is a brand new coaching collective. You can go to DancingDragons.CC. You can book an appointment with an intake specialist that will find you the perfect coach to get you to where you want to go in life. At Dancing Dragons, we have tons of coaches that deal with tons of different kinds of niches and categories, and I don't even know what to call them sometimes. We have anything that you're looking for to help you through life or to help you get to a certain goal. We have somebody that can help you there. So go to DancingDragons.CC, book yourself an appointment, and find the perfect coach for you. Today is a very special episode. Today we are talking about new transitions. I figure, it's the first episode of the new year. And so talking about new transitions just kind of felt right. And it's a topic that we haven't really touched upon yet at Dancing Dragons Live. So I thought that this would be a kind of like a cool little seasonal approach here. So take it away, Will.
Yeah, so every stage of our lives, it seems like there's a change, and then there's like a ritualistic coronation of that. It's like, oh, I graduated 5th grade. Okay, I graduated high school. Okay, now it's time to go into college. Now it's time to pick out a corporation, which I'll sit in the cubicle for the remainder of my life. Oh, now menopause. Yay, now I'm unalive, right? So we go through a whole bunch of changes in our lives. And it's something that we all have to endure. So we're going to talk a little bit about maximizing those. And
Will,
so
I have to interrupt. We all will not be going through menopause. You guys are going through andropause.
Hey, I read an article that there was something called manopause, okay?
No, it's actually andropause. It's a thing.
Oh,
sorry, Will, I interrupted, but I was like, you guys are not going through menopause.
Sorry, not yet, anyways. Not yet. I have been having hot flashes. I've been having some hot flashes. But no, seriously, change is like the one constant thing in life, right? And it's unfortunate because human beings, we're creatures of habit. We like to just kick it. We like normal. We like routine. But it's something that we all have to go through regardless of whether you want to or not. So, Elijah, want to kick us off a little bit on the best approaches?
Yeah, so I think that the first thing that we really need to talk about is just this idea that change is a normal thing. And when you come across like a big change in life, you're going through a big transition, and it could be anything. Like when we're talking about these big transitions, obviously people go through many smaller transitions throughout life. Maybe you go from like elementary school to middle school. That could seem like a really big transition at the time, but in hindsight, it's probably a smaller type transition, right? Going from middle school to high school might be a bigger transition, right? But still relatively small. But going from high school to college, that's a huge transition, right? That's pretty big. And then there are things that make even that transition look kind of small, right? Like, let's say you join the military. That's a huge change, right? Let's say you're in the military and you get out of the military. That's another huge transition that a lot of people struggle with. Let's say, you get a terrible diagnosis, and you're dealing with a chronic disease or something like that. That can be a huge transition. You get into a car accident and you get injured, right? That can be a huge life transition depending on what the injury is and how it affects you, right? So there are so many different things that could qualify as like a new transition. So this is a bit of a big umbrella kind of conversation. So it's not dealing with any specific one. I'm sure that if we were to break down going from high school to college, right, that would be a very specific thing. We could talk about very niche kind of things that would be very specific to that transition. But I just wanted to focus on today about just the broader concept of a transition and then what to do during that. There you go, Ron. What do you want to say?
So all of these things have two things in common. One, control. One is control. Because when we go through changes, we feel a loss of control. And our headspace is, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. The fact is, we are never in control of anything except for our own bodies. And most of the time we suck at that, and our brains, because, and I've said this on more than one podcast, our brains lie to us all the time, so when we focus on that, there's change. I don't know what's going to happen. It scares us. And that fear is the lack of control, and it's evolutionary. We are hardwired for negativity. That saber-toothed tiger, waiting to eat us, and we're always on the lookout for waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, people that were not scared of saber-toothed tigers didn't seem to procreate too often. Like they just
no, they didn't last that long. So if we can flip our mindset and work on hey, this is going to be new. This could be an adventure. We don't know what's going to happen. Let's wait and see. You know what? I lost my job. That sucks. And maybe my next one will be better. Maybe now is the chance to try that entrepreneur idea that I had. Things are scary. Feel your feels. And resilience is allowing yourself to see the possibilities. So if people can flip their mindsets to realizing that we're very rarely in complete control and what's possible, it makes things a lot easier. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, actually. Like, I think Buddha said, like, all suffering comes from attachment, right? And I think that's maybe a little bit hyperbolic, maybe not all suffering. I mean, I feel like when I stubbed my toe, I wasn't attached to anything, but
that's physical pain. That's a little different.
But I do think. Yeah, I do think it's a point well taken. I mean, I'm being a little pedantic here, but like, but yeah, so yeah, I think a lot of emotional suffering comes from this idea of attachment, which boils down to control. It's like you feel like it's like you want to hold on to something that's controlling something. You want to hold on to it, and it's like I feel like a lot of things in life, like it's like if you try to like imagine an eel, it's slippery. Like the harder you squeeze, sometimes the faster it slips out of your fingers, right? And so there's this concept that you kind of touched on that I was planning on bringing up a little bit later, but I think it's probably a good time now. Is that like I think I mean I've listened to a lot of people talk about like what the best thing to do when it comes to like transitioning and what to do with new things. I've been through a lot of transitions in my life. I've read a bunch of stuff about it. I've read all kinds of articles and whatnot about it. But honestly, I've never heard somebody say this. So I'm tooting my own horn here. It's just something I've come to realize through reflection of my own transitions and just like kind of like logicking it out. And I really feel like the flexibility and rigidity conversation is important that nobody ever talks about. And that's like one of the primary things I wanted to talk about in this video, right? So you'll hear a lot of things about people telling you to be flexible, even in the military, because there's so many transitions. You're always going from one base to another, switching units, going from one mission to the next, right? They always say semper gumby, always flexible, right? Like always be flexible, right? Yeah. So, but here's the thing is nobody ever tells you when to be rigid. Nobody ever talks about rigidity. And I feel like rigidity is just as important as flexibility. And the thing is that what I find to be the most important thing that you could possibly do when going through a transition is taking a breath, looking at the situation and trying to figure out like you need flexibility, right? That's why steel is better than iron, right? Because it's flexible. Right. And so it doesn't break, it bends, it doesn't break. Right. And so you need a little bit of flexibility, right? Or you're going to break. But figuring out what you want to be flexible on and what you want to be rigid on, I think is important. And we never talk about what you want to be rigid on, but like, who are you? Like the whole Alice in Wonderland thing. Who are you? Right. Like, it's a really important thing to understand. Like if, like, let's say, again, I'll just give like a random example off the top of my head. Like, let's say you're like a Muslim person moving from the Middle East to New York City, right? Now you might want to be like, hey, I want to just totally just become an American. That's it. I'm leaving my old world behind. I want to be an American. I want to, I want to wear baseball caps and I want to eat hot dogs, all beef, still going to stay halal, right? But like, I want to do all these things, right? Now you might say like, hey, I'm going to change my lifestyle. I'm going to go to baseball games. I'm going to eat turkey on Thanksgiving, but you might say, you know what? I am going to bring my prayer rug with me everywhere I go. And I am going to pray 5 times a day because I'm still a Muslim and I'm going to stick to that. And I don't care who looks at me weird on the subway or who looks at me weird at the restaurant. I'm praying 5 times a day. Right. Like, and that is like, you're holding a core of yourself together. And I think that that's like an important thing to say, like, hey, this is who I am. And I'm going to fight to keep this part of me like alive. And I'm not going to let the world tell me you have to be different. I'm going to stay rigid here. And I think that picking and choosing where you're rigid and where you're flexible is so important. But everybody always talks about be flexible. But I'm telling you, like, look for the places where you can be rigid and keep yourself. Stay yourself. Actually, well, like that song Hurt. Yeah, go ahead.
Can we say that in another way? Like either having boundaries or something like that, Will?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to kind of define that a little bit more because I think we're defining your rigidity to me, and maybe you guys can give me some feedback on that. On this would be defining your rigidity is finding out who you are as a person. What are the characteristics that make you successful, right? And having rigidity with those. Like, I'm always going to show up 10 minutes early. I'm always gonna dress good. I'm always gonna have a positive frame of mind. These are the things that I will not bend on, right? And then maybe you're flexible with your schedule, right? Or other things. But to me, there are certain things, or I won't compromise any of my morals, right? Certain things that you should completely be rigid about. And yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Maybe boundaries as well, Rona. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
You can go, Rona.
Eli?
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Eli. You go ahead.
So, I mean, we're in Rhode Island. Me and Will are in Rhode Island. The symbol of Rhode Island is an anchor, and it says hope on it, right? And an anchor is an emblem of hope, right? And I think that's kind of like a weird thing. And if you think about anchors, right, they're really, really rigid, except they're part of a very flexible rope, right? And so it's like the flexibility and the rigidity work together to keep you stable. And if you just threw down a flexible thing, you're going to float away, right? And if you just threw down the anchor and it's not flexible, it's going to break and then you're just going to be torn asunder, right? So this flexibility and it's like, and that's what gives you hope for the future. And that's how you can maintain it. I really think that if people have like a grounding where they're like, this is who I am, and they understand that, and you take time to think about like, who am I? Like, really, who am I? What's important to me? And who do I want to be moving forward? When you think about these types of things, you can ground yourself. And then you can say, hey, you know what? I'm moving to New York City. Or I already use that example. Let's say, all right, I'm moving out to the country, but you know what? I still am going to go to Starbucks every day. I don't care that it's 15 minutes away by car. And I'll drive that 15 minutes every single day or 25 minutes every single day to get my Starbucks. Yeah, see, yes.
When I was married,
of all the people I know, I don't think you have a problem with rigidity. I think that like you stay who you are.
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely know who I am, which being that that Dancing Dragons is a coaching collective, that's what some of our coaches do. They coach us to get answers from ourselves, things that we don't necessarily see or want to admit to, so that we can change our mindsets. And I just wanted to throw that 30-second commercial in there. And when I was married, I lived in a little town called Woodland Park outside of Colorado Springs, Colorado, where, I was up at 9,000 feet and here I am, a New York City Jewish girl in and amongst, let's just say, people who weren't. And, they didn't know, like everybody had jeans on with a moose head and a string around their neck. And with the way I dressed, I got nothing, and then luckily I moved here to California, and I'm about to move, well, hopefully within the next year or so, to London. That's what I'm working on. So, yeah, I'm working on it. It may not, I'm not even putting it out there.
So you're going to be putting this into practice. Yeah. You're going to be putting this into practice sooner or later. Moving to a different country is a huge life transition.
It's a huge thing. There's a lot of prep work, and there was some stats that Coach Alex, who is behind the scenes, our fearless leader, put together, and it said that there was an awful lot of people who were not happy once they decided to move somewhere, and I think I don't think that's a good enough reason not to try.
Well, it's funny that you bring up. Well, it's funny that you bring up London specifically, because as one of the things that I specialize in as a coach is transitioning to England. And one of the things you're going to want to do even before you get there, Elijah knows is what's coming, is put yourself in a shower and paint with your clothes on, and paint everything gray around you, and then put some dog food on a plate, and then throw peas and gravy on that, because that's what you're going to be eating for the rest of your life. Just kidding.
You know what? I have to disagree. I was in London.
It's delicious, isn't it? Sorry.
I was in London earlier this year for 2.5 weeks, and I absolutely love it. It's multicultural. They have a great, tube system. The food has gotten much better. I've been going there for a long time. The food is getting much better, and statistically, I looked this up. It's getting sunnier there.
Wow, interesting. I think that's your disposition. I think that's your disposition. I think
I'm there. Right.
It's not. It's Rona's sparkly climate change that you need to come out to Providence, Rhode Island a few times a year. Then, because we could use it.
Google it.
I will. No, I did get
climate change.
No, I was good. Yeah, no. I was going to get
London.
Yeah.
London is legitimately one of the most amazing cities in the world. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
I've been there a couple times. I absolutely love it.
And everyone can come visit me.
Yeah.
You can't stay with me, but you can.
And as long as you don't get traditional food there, everything's good. You get a traditional English breakfast. It just tastes like
mushy peas. I don't, I do love
bangers and mash too. I got bangers and mash at a British pub, and I was just like, "Oh my God, this is so awful." But I digress. So life transitions. If you move to England, like a very specific tip: do not eat traditional British cuisine. It's terrible. It's just horrible. Right. So anyway, I remember actually I was in a British pub and I ordered a British beer. Right, I was they had a whole list, and I was like, British beers. I forgot what it was, right? But the woman gave it to me, the bartender gave it to me, and I took a sip of it. And I was like, oh my God, this is awful. And she goes, of course it's awful. It's British.
Man, that's hilarious.
That's funny.
She didn't say it like a joke. She said it like I was an idiot. What'd you think you were doing here?
That is very funny.
Well, even worse, right? A couple, and you know what, Rona? I'll have to put you on with a couple of my friends, because I have a lot of friends out in the UK. And one of my buddies, Grim, and his wife, they came out last year, and we went to a pub, and I was like, okay, what do you guys want to get from beers? And I was like, all right, this is a local kind of IPA. This is it's got a little fruit stuff. And they were like, we'll do Bud Lights, please. And I was like, no. They were like, we want to do the American thing. I was like, no, don't do that. But anyways, okay, let's pick up back on track.
Yeah. So anyway,
wait, Eli, I have to interrupt you just for a second, because I want everyone who's listening to this. I will be in London for the month of May for 4 to 5 weeks. So, Will, I want you to ask your friends if they have a room to rent, or if they know of anybody who has.
Yeah, Rhoda, I will text you privately about that. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and anyone who's watching, I'm a very
actually.
good
I mean, I don't want to name drop, but Prince Andrew said I could come by anytime, so he'd be more than welcome to have you.
Oh, great. Yeah.
I don't think you can call him Prince anymore.
Not legally.
Yeah.
We just call him Drew.
He's the Andrew formerly known as Prince. So
that's right. That's very good.
So anyway, back to the show. Now
I'm having more fun talking about climate change. Let's just go back to
that. Yeah.
Hire us to coach.
And so
so transitions. Back to transitions.
Okay, yeah. So back to transitions, right? So this idea of flexibility and rigidity, right? So so if you got to think about who you are and who you want to be, right? And then you can almost envision this new transition, whatever you're doing, whatever it is, you can see it as almost a way to get you to where you want to be, right? And I think like a cool way of using rigidity as a guide here, right, is that like you're in a new you're in a new transition, you're doing whatever differently. You can break a lot of old habits that like you didn't want. You can start a whole bunch of new habits, right? This is a perfect opportunity to do that kind of stuff. But
I'm going to chime in real quickly here, Elijah, on that point. I brought up on a previous episode, but there is a lot of research to suggest that once you already are making a transition, or if you're going on a vacation or you're changing up your schedule, that is the best time to either stop a habit or start a habit. So yeah, I'll double down on that. Go ahead. My apologies, Coach Eli.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So it's the best time to do that. But here's the thing. Whenever, like, and this is something that's frustrating to me, because whenever people talk about this or they give advice on it or something like that, they always say like, oh, pick up a new hobby. And I'm like, no, I mean, you can. It's okay. It's not like a bad thing to do. But you know what's a better thing to do? Pick up an old hobby. Go back to something that you had abandoned before, right? Like something that you really loved, and then maybe like for whatever reason you went through a life transition and it was like, this doesn't fit in my life anymore. If you can look back on your past and find something that you had abandoned that you had previously loved, try to go back to that. That's really going to anchor you through a new transition. It's going to embolden you. It's going to make you feel like you are taking control of your life again. Like it's going to really be a positive change. If you can go back to an old hobby or find like some sort of pastime or something that you used to do that you love, like let's say you used even like, you know, it's 2026, we can use younger things, right? Like let's say you used to play Pokemon Go all the time, but somewhere along the way you stopped playing. You didn't know why, but you still have friends that played, but you didn't play. Like you could just download Pokemon Go again, right? It doesn't even have to be like a big thing. Could have been something that you could have done in your previous life, but you just didn't. You got away from for whatever reason. Go back to something like that, and I think it's gonna have like this real good centering effect, and it's gonna make you like confident in you are who you are.
A little more grounded.
Exactly. So people always say, pick up a new hobby. And it's like, I mean, yes, that can be a good thing too. I'm not trying to say don't do that, right? But I'm saying that if you have the opportunity to pick up a hobby, maybe try to revisit a hobby that you've previously abandoned that you really loved, maybe wish that you could go back to. And now it's the perfect time to do that.
Yeah.
And so just going back to this whole change is normal idea. Yeah.
I think it depends on what the transition is too. You know, if you're transitioning jobs and you're nervous about something, yes, I mean going back to an old hobby or an old fun thing that you like to do could give you comfort. And whereas if you are, you know, when I'm in London, I may, you know, I'm going to look for groups that I can join, maybe a Toastmasters group, or maybe a tennis group to play tennis and meet people and find, you know, and then, I mean, I'm a museum art gallery person, and there, you know, sign up for events and things like that, which will also help with the transition. And you may find comfort in new friends that you have somebody to lean on now, you know.
And a perfect example of this. Yeah, a perfect example of this is like, so like I have a son, right? And like having a kid is kind of a big transition in your life, right? But something that I've started doing is when I like listen to music with him, which I try to do every day. We listen to some music. I listen to songs that I used to love when I was a kid, you know, like old classic rock songs my mom used to like play in the kitchen and dance around to, you know, like things like that. And it's a really sweet thing. Like, it's just like really, it's like these are songs I know very, very well. I've listened to 1,000 times, but I just stopped listening to them for whatever reason. Like, just I got older, I listened to them enough times. So I was like, never like, hey, put on this song, you know, but now I'm like listening to all these old songs that I used to listen to all the time when I was younger. And it's just a really sweet thing because my son never listened to them before, you know, so I get to share that with him. And so it's like a cool thing that's like, it's bringing me back to like, hey, this is who you are and you're sharing it with your son. And so even though it is intimidating to have a baby, right, and it is intimidating trying to be a father for the first time, doing something like that can embolden you and can give you confidence and can make you feel really good.
Yeah.
So go ahead,
Yeah,
Will.
and most people, like I said, kind of, and I know a lot of people too in my own life, especially in the newer generation too, and even the generation before that, who really have that social anxiety and don't like to. Even for them, it's even more difficult to have one of these transitions. But to Rona's point, that's where when you make those transitions, even if you're not somebody like Rona that is a little more extroverted and is going to go out and actively find them, just by getting a new job, you're going to meet new people. And you might not be friends with any of the people that you work with. Maybe a customer comes in and you guys vibe on every single thing, right? You guys both like architecture, philosophy, and baseball. And it's like,
Right.
and a niche craft beer or something like that. So that's what happens too. And a lot of the things too is like, you know, I'm a person that once my phone invariably breaks every like year or two, I'm just like, all right, I'll get a new number. And the people that love me and the people that I think about the most, they're gonna be there. Sorry, Grandma. Get you next time. No, just kidding. Rest in peace with Granny. She got hit by a bazooka. Think about it every time I hit the hookah. Kablam, kablow. Okay, that's a song that you guys we're gonna listen to later. But no, the point is, it's like some of them. No, you definitely will. You kids don't even know about it yet. It's like the Clanker and 6-7 thing well before it's time. So you definitely will introduce it. I'm like,
6-7.
yeah, don't worry. We'll break it down after the show. But the point is like that's the cool silver lining about all these different transitions. It's like you meet new people, and then even if it's something that's negative, right? Sometimes you're like, oh man, I can't leave the crib right now because I have some type of ailment and I'm going to be homebound for like 8 months. That's when you kind of find out you might lose a couple friends because they were fair weather friends. But then it's like the people that are there for you during your lower times, man, that really makes your friendship that much deeper and richer, and you have such a greater appreciation for them. So that's just another silver lining in transitions.
Sure.
So, so going back to this idea that change is normal, because I really want to make people understand just how common these life transitions are, right? So there's this guy, Bruce Feiler, whatever. He's written several books on the topic. He's done TED Talks about it. He's basically does his whole career around life transitions, right? But like he's done like his books, he's like interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people about life transitions and stuff like that. And he's done research into life transitions. So he says that basically every single person averages about 40 life transitions throughout their life, right? Like now they could be small, like these could be small transitions to big transitions, right? But they average about 40 of them. And then about 3 to 5 major transitions, right? So you average about 3 to 5 like huge transitions in your life. And each of those transitions, people feel like they're in transit for an average of about 5 years, right? So
Wow.
if you break it down, like throughout your life, there's like 25 years, like 20 to 25 years where you feel like you're in transition, right?
Wow.
Like, and it's like, now, again, when you're like younger, it could be something like, you know, maybe your parents get a divorce, something like that. That can be like that could feel like a huge transition to you, right? And so you might mark that down. It might take a long time to adapt. Maybe you have to move across the country, right, for a job or something like that. That could be a transition. So he says that the average person does about 3 to 5, and that the average time for each transition is about 5 years, right? And so if you think about it like that, like we are always going through these transitions. And And so it's important to know. I think that something that really makes people upset and gets depressed about it is sometimes it feels like it's just happening to you. Like sometimes you feel kind of alone. You're like, oh, why is this happening to me? Like, oh my God, of all the people this could have happened to, like, why me? You know, and it's like, it's really important. Like there was this experiment a while back. There was like this monkey experiment. They had these monkeys. And basically, I might have talked about it on a previous episode. It's a pretty cool experiment, but basically they would give a monkey a pebble and then he'd put it inside like a little box. And then as a reward, they would give him a cucumber, right? And then he'd like get all excited, eat the cucumber, then give him another pebble. He'd put it inside the box and give him another cucumber. He'd get all excited, he'd eat the cucumber. Then they would go to another monkey that he could see, and they would give that monkey a pebble. He would put it in the box and they would give him a grape. Now, according to monkeys, grapes are much more delicious than cucumbers, right? Just much more delicious. And so the monkey that was very happy to put the pebble in a box for the cucumber was like looking at the other monkey, and you can watch the video. It's hilarious. He's like looking at the other monkey. He's like, whoa, he got a grape. What is this? You know? And so then they give that monkey a pebble again. He puts it in the box. They go to hand him a cucumber, and he's like, no, I'm not taking a cucumber. And he like throws the cucumber back at him. He's like, give me the grape. He gets so angry. And then they give the other monkey a pebble, give him a grape. And the other monkey's like grabbing the bars and shaking them. And he gets so angry, right? And it's like when we see other people get better stuff and we don't, you don't see everything behind the scenes, especially with social media nowadays. You don't see everybody's trials and tribulations, but you do see all their vacations and you see all their fancy dinners, right? So it's important just to like ground yourself and understand this doesn't just happen to you. It happens to everybody. At some point, people are going to have to go through a really big life transition. So don't feel all alone. Keep yourself grounded. Understand that change is a normal part of life. And that even Darwin said that the survival of the fittest doesn't mean like the biggest and strongest. The fittest are the people that are most able to change and adapt to change, right?
Yep.
So that's a very important thing to keep in mind. Now,
see, and I just got don't settle for a cucumber. That's what I got of that story. Don't settle for cucumbers. Go for the grapes.
He was never going to get a grape. He was never going to get a grape.
That is so crazy how they just. I hope after that experiment they just showered him with grapes because. That is so messed up, bro.
Very cool.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Oh, animal control. Anyway.
It's kind of hilarious, though. When you watch the video, it's absolutely hilarious to watch his reaction. Like, that monkey is so angry. He's so angry about the situation. But here's the thing. The funny thing is that he was perfectly happy to do it for a cucumber. Like, perfectly happy. And then when he saw somebody else was getting a grape, that's when he got really upset. That's jealousy, even in monkeys, is like crazy, right? So just remember that. You only look at somebody else's bowl to see if they have enough. Remember that. Okay. So
next point. All right, let's get off the monkeys. What's the next point?
Yeah. So anyway, so a very important part about transitions, we can kind of go step by step now, is I think the first thing that you got to do is let go of the past. And so that kind of falls in. It's like, change. It's a very emotional thing sometimes, but you got to let go of the past. And like the Buddha said, all suffering comes from attachment, right? And so the more you try to hold on to that past, the worse it's going to be. It's not going to change anything. The past is gone. You can't bring it back. So,
and just while you're on that point, because this is the second time you brought that up, Buddha also said that the thoughts that you think become your reality. So if you use a law of attraction or a positive overall mental attitude going in, you're going to set yourself up for a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you go in saying, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to kick butt, take names, these people are going to like me, and I'm going to smell good, I'm going to look good, and I'm going to build rapport with these folks, and that's what you're thinking, then you're going to get back what you're sending out.
Let me tell you something. Every time I go on stage, I assume people are going to love me. And not everyone does. I would say 99.3% do. And that's okay. I'm a lot. People, I can scare people. And, and it's that confidence that allows you to be resilient and to take those transitions and those changes in a positive way, per Will's point.
Yeah, and it's also important that you do the research and you do the work ahead of time too. Because when I step on stage, I know everyone's going to love me, but I never learned how to dance and climb up the pole with my legs. So you have to do the work and the research too if you want to get the results.
And wear the right shoes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
big mistake. I got
those 10-inch heels did not work for Will at all. So
they're actually Reebok pump 10-inch heels.
He wears size 9 shoes, and what 10-inch heels is just too big of an angle. So
those big lucite ones.
Yeah. Okay, so all right, so you got to let go of the past. Now, something that I think that would be very helpful in doing that is to come up with some sort of ceremony or something that's symbolic, right? For me, I like those kinds of things. I like those like doing something, memorializing something. It doesn't, and when I say these things, ceremony and memorializing, kind of seems like it's bigger than what I'm talking.
Beware. He's talking about occult magic, ritualistic voodoo devil worship. So
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's right.
Yeah. So just a little thing. Yeah, a little thing you could throw out something, or you could, get a picture framed. Get a picture framed, I think, is a great way to do it. If you've never like specifically framed a picture, like not bought a frame at Walmart and put a picture inside, like go to a picture framing place and like customize the frame. It's a really cool process. It's not that expensive.
Well, I want to point out that this was a big transition. My mom, my dad died years ago, and my mom died right at the beginning of the pandemic. She was over 90, so she had a good run. I have 2 much older brothers, and so my niece had one of her friends who's an artist draw a picture of our house that we grew up in, because we sold the house.
That's awesome.
Because nobody lived there except my mom. So, per your point, I took that drawing and I went and I had it framed and it's hanging up. So it gives me comfort, and it's a big transition. So.
Yeah, and you have like a kind of like a totem or like some sort of like I don't want to say trophy, but you have like a memorabilia about the situation.
Right. A memento.
It's nice. A memento. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. So yeah, I think doing something like that is fantastic. It could also be doing something crazy. It could be like, I've never skydove before. I'm going to go skydiving to mark this change. Boom. You can just go do something crazy. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna go try to salsa dancing for the first time. It could be something like that, right? Just kind of be like, hey, this is new. I'm just gonna feel it out, So it could be anything like that. I think that's kind of like a good way of letting go of the past and actually having closure and getting closure on it. And it's important. It is an emotional thing, and it's okay to admit that you're emotional about it. You can deal with those emotions, and you don't have to cry on your best friend's shoulder, or you don't have to, have this dramatic thing or something. You can deal with it. Just understand the emotions, any way that you process emotions normally. And then after that, after you let go of the past, I think it's time to recalibrate yourself. Right. I just think you need to recenter yourself. This is where you can really think about who you are, who you want to be, what this transition means, whether you see it as a step forward or a step back, planning ahead, taking into account all of these things. You can look at this transition and see it as an opportunity, like Game of Thrones, chaos is a ladder, right? So transition, this could be your step up. You can use this to break bad habits. You can use it to start good habits. You could use it to start exercising. You could use this transition because your brain's already scrambling around, doesn't really know which way is north, right? So you can start to consciously construct a lifestyle that you've always wanted. And so even if you do see it as a step back, there's always a silver lining where you can plant. Yeah, you can start planting the seeds for a brighter future. Yeah, go ahead, Will.
One of the things I recommend, we kind of alluded to this earlier though, but if you're having a situation where even if it's a negative transition or what would be perceived as negative, let's say you broke your leg and you're out of work for 6 months. You sit down and you write in a piece of paper all the things that this is a positive for, because most people can be, oh, I'm out of work, I'm gonna do this, I might not get as much of a paycheck. Hey, I can spend more time with my daughters now. Hey, you know that me and my wife always wanted to go up to the mountains in that hot tub, and boom, boom, boom. Hey, now I can actually boss around my children and have a great excuse because my leg's up. But not, that last one's a joke, but I mean, you could think of all the stuff and it's like, okay, wow, this is actually a lot of good things. Maybe I can pick up that hobby now. Maybe I can sit there and strum my guitar, right? So whatever it is, things that automatically are perceived as negative, if you just sit there and then you write a couple, it's just the same opposite. Like y'all ever be sad and you'd be like, my girlfriend just broke up with me, and then you look at your phone, it's like, I don't have 6% battery, and I never saw the new Star Wars, and you just start thinking of all the things that like, and then you just like everything is bad, but you can do the exact opposite if you just write down all the things that you're grateful for, and then you start seeing new opportunities.
That's the point that I made at the beginning. It's flipping your mindset, and it can be work if you're not used to it, And I want to add on to this. Sometimes you just have to take a step back and feel your feels to help you move forward, because you have to go through it. Sometimes we look for things to do so we don't feel. And if it's a big transition and you have to go through them, I'm sad, I'm scared, I'm excited, I'm nervous, these are, write down all your feelings. And what, so am I going to sit and stew in this and not move forward? Am I going to be caught in this? Or am I going to pick myself up by my bootstraps and say, okay, how can I make this better? How can I make the lemonade out of lemons? How can I play with this? And make it more fun for me? Sometimes situations aren't great. And how can I make the best? And usually that helps you discover things that you never knew that, hey, I'm pretty good at this. Oh, this is fun. Maybe I wonder if I can make a business out of this. I wonder if I can find other people who like to do this. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do.
And the next point I would say, just be intentional, like that goes right in it. Like, it's like, you're going through this transition. It's a perfect time to get out of the flow of the everyday where you feel like you're just getting swept along and like, well, I got to wake up, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do that. It's a perfect time to be like it's so easy when you're going through one of these transitions to just do what needs to be done right now, and then just let time in life sweep you along. And then next thing you know, it's like 3 years later and you're like, I don't even know what happened, like, this is just what I do now, right? So, but really try to be intentional about it, right? If you're upset with the transition, if it's not a good thing, a lot of transitions can be good things. I know a lot of times when people talk about life transitions, they think of it as like a automatic negative thing. Sometimes, like, even when it's a good transition, like you got a promotion or you got a new job or something like that, or you're working in a new field, sometimes even that can lead to a lot of stress because it's just you don't have an anchor, right? And you just feel like you're floating away. So be very intentional, like create a plan, right? Like look at what you're doing and say, okay, is this what I want to do? If it's not what I want to do, what's my escape plan? Well, how can I position myself to get out of this transition and transition into something else in, 1 year's time or 2 years' time, right? How can I get back on, get back into the black if you're having financial issues, and how can I get back on the saddle and like head towards my dreams, right? And so have an intentional plan, come up with that plan. You can also use this time, like if you're in a transition where it's like you lost your job or something, instead of just wallowing in self-pity, you can make sure that you're being productive in other ways. Work on yourself, teach yourself a new skill, go get a free online class. There's all different kinds of things that you can do. And these things can help you transition into a better life down the road, right? And so when I say all these things, I'm kind of saying them rapid fire. And when you're in a life transition, everything seems to be moving fast. And so what I would just say is just remember that slow is fast and fast is slow, right? And so if you try to go too fast, if you try to do too many things, you make a checklist of 500 things that you want to get done in a weekend, you know, you're not going to get them done and you're going to be discouraged, right? So take it slow. You know, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, you know, and but take that first bite. You know, you know, don't just look at the elephant and be like,
even if you're not vegan like me, do not. They're endangered. They will unalive you, right? Don't do that, okay?
Be nice to elephants.
But
Nice
you know, to Coach Eli's point, I brought this up before. Well, one of the things he said is, especially overwhelmed. When people feel overwhelmed, we've all been there where we feel overwhelmed and we're just don't want to do anything. Sometimes the transition can go by really quickly. Sometimes it can just feel like time is going by so, and you just want to fast forward to the future where you know things are going to be a little bit bright and you can't, and you're just stuck there. And one of the things that with a lot of people I know, including myself, is it kind of makes you lethargic, a little lazy, and you lose ambition. What you can do, and unfortunately, even when you have those slow days, there are still 2 or 3 things that you should have. I always suggest you have a master to-do list of all the things you want to accomplish. You might want to break it down into different parts and then take maybe 1 to 3 max of that list and try to tackle those during those days. And even if you just get one of those things done, you're gonna feel better because, well, I actually did something. Yeah, you know, I sat around and I ate ice cream and I watched YouTube all day. But hey, you know what? I got this accomplished too, right? And so that's going to start that building of momentum. And one other point that I wanted to make as well about these things is, like I mentioned before, the law of attraction, but also in Think and Grow Rich, it says when you get a new opportunity, maybe it's a new job, right? But maybe it's not the job that you really want. Maybe it's a step or 2 below where you want to be. You throw yourself into it 120%, right? So you show up on time. You're well dressed, you're building rapport, you're very friendly with everybody there, and you go 120%. You go above and beyond, you don't expect anything in return. And then just because Coach Eli mentioned intentionality and intention, I'm a fan of the Orlando Magic basketball team, and I like them because they play with high intensity. They're high energy, right? They're not going to let you do anything easy, right? They're very defensive minded. And regardless, whether you like the team or any pro sports team, these people are like supreme elite athletes. And the thing that they always do to bring it and simple it down is 3 things: focus, intention, and effort. First, you got to focus because it's easy to get distracted in today's world, especially if you got cell phones and tablets everywhere and people calling and texting you. Intention, think about your intention and put it forth, and then just give the effort. So focus, intention, and effort. Big things.
That's it. Yeah, I had one thing, and you actually said it, Will. It's in a different way. It's basically any kind of transition. Just stay present, which is the focus. So I got nothing.
Yeah, and something I learned from one of my friends who dealt with a lot of anxiety, which at one point would become crippling to him. Pardon me. Is he would say, "Hey, be where your feet are." His therapist would tell him, "Be where your feet are," because it's easy to get lost in your head or your social media. It's like, "Oh shoot, I'm right here." Because a lot of times it's kind of like the destination of the journey too. You're like, "Oh, I'm thinking I can't wait to get there and do this and that," and just be present. Be where your feet are. So that's a little something I learned
here,
from
right now. Yes,
Yep.
I love that.
All right. Any last words, Coach Eli?
Honestly, I think that we pretty much covered everything that I wanted to talk about in this episode. I mean, just to recap, you know, understand that change is normal. You're not alone in this, right? So don't wallow in self-pity about it, right? Understand that the strongest people are the people that are most adaptive to change, right? And then just remember this whole idea about rigidity and flexibility, right? Yes, it's important to be flexible or you're going to break, but it's also important to be rigid, right? And so stay true to who you are. Find where that central piece of you is and hold on to it and use it as an anchor, right? And so if you keep like I didn't get to say it earlier, but it's like that song "Hurt" that was done by 9 Inch Nails, but then later redone by Johnny Cash, right? And it became a big hit for both of them. But the song's about heroin addiction, right? So, but at the end of it, right, it says like, if I could start over again, like 1,000 miles away, I would keep myself. I would find a way. Right. And so it's this idea that addiction took him away from himself. He wasn't able to be himself anymore. Right. And so the idea is that if he could do anything over again, like the main thing he would focus on is just to keep himself. So don't let your life transition you. Right. Don't let them change who you are. Find who you are and be rigid about that. And then find where you can be flexible in your life and make those things flexible so that you can adapt, right? But don't change who you are. That's what I would say.
Very good.
Yeah, totally agree. Because if you become a little too flexible or a little too rigid, you're not going to hold on. Just like Eagles wide receiver AJ Brown. Night, folks. Go Cowboys! Yay!